Welcome back, you guys, to Key and Will's The More You Know podcast.
Yeah.
In the building today. I'm so excited. I know Will is so excited.
I'm stoked.
We have Osei, the Dark Secret.
Listen, let me just interrupt because Osei Kweku in the building. Listen,
Yes, better known as...
everybody all over the world know him as Osei the Dark
Absolutely.
Secret. But this brother has been dear friends of us for a minute. Matter of fact, he was at our wedding 9 years ago. And it's amazing we've maintained this relationship.
Yeah.
So this is a lifelong thing right here.
Absolutely. Here with family.
We family.
We love you.
We talking.
We know how busy you are.
Oh man, listen.
And we
African
appreciate
cab driver, Keith. See? Come on, Will. I just took my hat off. All right, don't let the smooth taste fool you. But nah,
No,
I mean, it's
we
appreciated.
truly, absolutely.
It's appreciated.
We
So
know
I
everything.
had to
that you
come
have going
through,
on.
and certainly we just vibe, and I think it's just important. Love what y'all are doing. Y'all have done some incredible things. The branding.
Yeah.
So I say that because hey, I'm sure a lot of people. Couple goals.
Hey,
Goals.
we trying, bro. We trying.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate
We
that.
Yeah, real
appreciate
time.
this.
We definitely take that serious, and man, we just trying to do what we do day by day.
Day by day.
Dope.
Day by day.
That's amazing. And you've been in media for how many years?
Wow. I started, in '98. And wow, I'm like,
Just even think about.
thinking
It's been that
about
long.
how many years, just on my journey and why, you know what I
Sure.
mean? But I think that every year, you get a different level of understanding as to, why, even when I've tried to get away from it. And, that GPS puts you back on track.
You're back on track.
Yeah, I wish you could stop talking for a minute, but it's a GPS you can't turn off, so you have to listen to it. So, I'm just always eternally just thankful because, you never know when it's your time. And I heard a friend of mine say, you never know whether you have a little or a lot of time
Right.
left.
Right.
And I think collectively, just for what we've even collectively experienced, just being over here for events and things of that nature, you just don't know. Time is it's not something. It's precious, and we don't own it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah, we've experienced a lot since this whole COVID and just a lot of loss.
Just as we've aged
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as we get older.
Yeah.
So many things, not even just loss, just how life becomes very challenging in so many ways.
It does.
And so I think a journey is, perspective.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different journey.
Yeah, they do.
But we all end up back in the same space where we have very similar struggles.
Sure.
Very similar.
A lot of times we think it's about the destination, but the journey is the destination. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think that, and it took me time to come to that conclusion too. You know what I mean? When I think the shortcomings, the failures, if you want to call them that, those are the things those are the hallmarks of your journey, right?
Yeah.
Because you can appreciate the things that you have when you talk about the things you lost. You know what I mean? Or the things you may have missed out on a little bit more, because your appreciation is different. And so, when people say, would you change anything? Yeah, if I could, I would. But that's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Those changes aren't, if it was like that, it's like, oh yeah. If I could make 3 wishes, I'd ask for unlimited wishes every time. But that's not how it works.
how it works.
It's just how
Exactly.
you make the most of it,
Oftentimes we don't get a do-over.
Right.
There you go.
And that leads to, because when I reached out to Osei, I was like, hey, we had this podcast, and I think you would really bring a lot of value to our followers.
Thank you.
And because he's a journalist and has interviewed so many amazing folks across the world, but I wanted to really take a time to interview him. And I said, Osei, if there was a topic, because we can talk about so many things, and I asked if there was a topic that you are passionate about, what would that be?
Yeah.
And he said mental health.
Oh, yeah.
And that really struck a nerve with me because I think that's a topic that's really not discussed.
A little taboo, if you will. A
Yeah,
little
and
bit.
it's something that a lot of us are dealing with.
Yeah.
And it's not. I think we need to have more discussions and conversations.
Sure.
About it.
Sure. As it relates to that, first and foremost, my degree was in psychology, psych pre-med. For me, I watched my father grind his way as a physician, going to school and, just building his business, his career. And, I had what I consider my real world ambitions, and then I had my dream. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll try this. I'd like to be a doctor, but,
Sure.
I was taking this program at UVA, and I was like, nah, that's not what I think I'm supposed to do. However, I think I'm supposed to help people. And so it was almost like a remix of what it is that I thought I was supposed to do, but wanting to do it in a way that was organic to me.
Right. Right.
And so, I got my degree in psych pre-med, but it wasn't until the spring of 2019, April 15th to be exact, that I went to my first therapy session.
Okay.
And it was eye-opening, you know what I mean? Because you realize, a lot of times we just carry around luggage.
Exactly.
We don't even know it. We don't even know it.
You're like, you don't see that big old bag you got, bag lady?
Right.
You don't see that, what you got on your back?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. I think a lot of us carry that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you did go to a therapist. We've gone to a therapist. And I think in at
Many
least
times.
many a times.
Yeah.
And that's why we're still together.
There you go.
But
true.
but it's just that, especially in the black community,
Sure.
it's almost frowned upon
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, I'm going to see a therapist."
Sure.
It's like, "Oh, you got problems."
Sure.
And
And I would like to say more, I don't want to say more so because I don't know the statistics, but I feel like just based on my past experiences and just conversation, it's more frowned upon or more so considered taboo to the black man to seek therapy or to talk to someone. I feel like that part to get a black man, because I feel like even with us, like, okay, let's seek therapy.
Sure.
And we'll talk more about this, I know, but seek therapy when you don't feel like you even need it,
Yeah.
because that's an important
I think
aspect as well.
it's interesting you make that point, Key, because I feel like it's a part of your maintenance.
Absolutely.
And,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
think about this: as black people, there are a lot of people who may not even have health benefits.
That's true.
And
That's true.
the world that we live in, it tells the black man to be strong at all times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even if you look at what's going on with the black man and woman in society, the black woman is successful, she's advancing, she's doing so many amazing things, and we have to, give it up to our queens. However, at the same time, I think that we have to also figure out the maintenance in us. And I say this, no matter where you were raised, be it stateside or in the diaspora, we all have a lot of similarities that we don't know about.
Absolutely.
But Black America is at the epicenter, to me, of how a lot of people view the world because of the inspiration you get being in the U.S.
Right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? You always
Right.
think
Okay.
it's better coming from another country to
That's what
America.
we hear
Yeah,
is, oh,
that's what we're told.
as long as you can get to America,
Right.
you've made it.
You've made it.
Quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that it can be a little less than accurate in terms of,
Disappointing, maybe.
so to speak, right. And I'm only saying that because one of the reasons I wanted to, just talk about this was, one, I feel like I've seen so much post George Floyd.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
that, like if we're going to talk about that specifically as one example, I've never seen a dog killed on TV.
Right.
That's such a good point.
People won't allow animals to be treated in that fashion, but they'll
Absolutely.
allow a black man or woman to be handled in that capacity.
Isn't it even, you can't even, fighting dogs is a
It
crime. You
is.
can't even do that, let alone see them be,
Tortured.
tortured or killed or,
And so,
and I've
yeah.
never thought about that.
And I only say that because America, the things that we allow, and I get it that now, when they say the revolution won't be televised, I don't think people really understood the prophecy in that,
Yeah,
right? And so
absolutely.
when you see that people saw this real time around the world, it was like, wow, it's really unsettling to your soul.
Yeah.
And either it's going to speak to you one way or the next. So maybe you'll say, wow, I can't believe that I just saw this, or I'm with that.
Right.
And, just like in movies, like I say that you don't see animals killed that way or abused, and you don't see children abused in film. But the news is accustomed to showing whatever it is real time because they really don't have any control. And at the end of the day, it's about ratings. One of the reasons I got into media was, in my mind, to change the narrative on black men and women, period. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we're seen as a savage, as the brute, and sometimes the imagery is not as direct as you might want to imagine it should be, or it is. It's more like, that's subliminal. What are you saying with that? And we have to know that we haven't been in control of our image since colonialism, since slavery,
Right.
on purpose. And that's done for a reason. You know what I mean? And so the more you know, the more you're going to change. And the hardest thing in this world is you can't unknow what you've learned.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
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 You can't unknow.
Trying to control the narrative for us.
For us.
For
Well,
us.
and I feel like we should be a part of our own narrative.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Haven't
Because
been.
we have a lot of heroes that are never shown to us on purpose, in my opinion. And that's, for a reason, because it keeps the control
Of course.
of what is needed.
Yeah. So say mental health. I think it's something that's extremely important. But why do you think it's such taboo, or why do you think not only in the black community, but why is it that folks feel hesitant to go seek therapy? Because I think that it's something that's almost it's almost a necessity. I think that we need to make that part of our maintenance because we work out, we physically work out, we do these other things, but mental health is almost equal or more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, it's kind of like the analogy of as above, so below. You know what I mean? So as you are up here, it's going to resonate with how you move.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Absolutely.
I think that, we're told to be strong for a lot of reasons that, and I don't want to get too deep because if I open up this
No,
can,
get deep.
We love
Open
deep.
it up. Open that can up.
Yeah.
Open that can up.
Well, like let's just look at slavery
Okay.
as an example.
All right.
Okay. And I'll use slavery and then let's look at apartheid.
Okay.
And if you've
Oh,
ever
yes.
seen,
Yeah.
and I'm going to use the continent because what I find is a lot of times everybody, when you've been through trauma, everybody wants to put their pain above everyone else's.
Right.
And that becomes complicated, right? And I think that whether we know it or not, you know what I mean, we've all gone through this trauma that's very similar. You know what I mean? And not just in America, but around the universe. I mean, across the globe, I should say.
Right.
The diaspora. And so when you talk about the amount of pain that we've had to, endure, and I use Black America because for me, I was always just blown away reading Black history. You know what I mean? And when I say Black history, Black America's history first and foremost, because everywhere has it. But when you look at, it's documented best, I would say, in America from slavery and the evolution. And I think that, the Black man having to see his woman taken from him, the mother of his children, his wife raped, and people, you know, when things happen in the present day, like people are serial killers, mass shooters, we're always like, how did they grow up? What happened to them? You know, we're so interested. But most people aren't really interested in our story. And if you really think about it, everyone has a story.
Right.
But everyone doesn't always get to tell their story or articulate their story or express themselves. And no real healing comes if you're suppressed. So when we talk about going to therapy, most people are encouraged to talk about it. But most black people have been told, don't talk about it, let go of the past,
let it go.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
And there's no healing that comes from that.
Yeah.
And so I'm big on, if you really want a person to heal, you'll hear them out.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean, as some people probably, you know, they have all the excuses. And I'm not saying it, you know, because that's a fine line. I think that most people, I mean, when you think about it, if you look at all the mob movies, you got killers going to the priest to confess.
Right.
Because I need to get this off of me.
I need to get this out.
I got to get this off of me because I'm carrying this.
You carry it.
Yes.
I'm not doing that.
I told you, you know what I'm saying? I just went and did this car bombing.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
That's on purpose, but we don't understand the symbolism even in that. And when you talk about this music, you know, rap carries all the weight of everybody. But, you know, most rappers draw their inspiration from these gangster films and from all these other things that they've watched over the years on purpose. And so I think that, you know, we have to understand what all that means for us as people and what it means to express yourself, to be vulnerable. And I think black men and women also have a hard, it's sometimes difficult for black men and women to express themselves to each other because this wall has been put there on purpose because of all the hurt everyone has experienced getting to this point. And so when you have a black man who might not feel like he's adequate, he's not able to protect his woman. First, let's just talk about the security aspect, right? Okay. And then provide. And then you go down the laundry list of things for whatever reason. And that's why I say the women are doing exceptional. But to a degree, society also is like, well, we're going to promote one of y'all. Let's get the woman going. And then, you know, black men and women are also at a place where we're like, I don't know if I like black women, or I don't know if I want to deal with a black man. It's just all of that.
Right.
And so we're not as self-aware of these things as being issues because we're just living our lives, going about it as we do, and not really internalizing the fact that, man, this could be really counterproductive to the creation of our own family, our own unit.
Yeah.
And it's on purpose too, I believe. Because, hey, man, if you talk about legislation, hey, you know, hey, ma'am, you can't get this money from the government if you got this black man here with you.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's a whole,
Again,
that's a whole
all right, I ain't going down that escalator, but I'm just going to let you know the escalator's over there.
It's there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And we just need to be able to understand and be more self-aware so that we understand why we're at this place and having conversations about that, you know, to get to a better place are important.
That's a good point, Key, because I think it's all mental. I think I think how you move, how you progress, or how you don't progress. I think that's all mental, and I think that we have to build our minds to where we're strong enough to realize that, number one, and say, hey, I need to get my mind together because I can't get my physical body. I can't do these others. I can't help others. I can't do these other things unless I'm in the right space.
If I'm down here, I'm down everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm negative. I'm depressed. And I'm not saying that we don't have those moments because we will.
We all do.
Like you said, we've experienced so much loss, especially as we get older, close friends, close family. And we all feel down, or we feel we aren't where we should be in our careers, or our careers have taken a change. So what do you do? How do you feed yourself and remember to think about yourself?
Yeah. Those affirmations.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, affirmations are important,
Yeah.
right? But everybody doesn't know that. And everybody doesn't remember to feed themselves. Let alone, there's people that forgot to take their medicine.
That's right.
Or whatever it is.
That's right.
Let
Exactly.
alone
Exactly.
forget to eat or the
Sure.
other necessities of life. And I think that when you're in community, you know what I'm saying, that's the reminder too. So for me too, coming, to you all's home and seeing certain things is a reminder to do these things, right?
Right,
That's what's
exactly.
necessary to grow. Because, something that I always say is if you don't bend, you break. And it means if you don't stretch
Yeah.
as
That's
well,
right.
you're going to hurt yourself.
That's right.
Right?
You will injure yourself.
And so I think that we have to be reminded as black people, because we're used to just going, work through the pain, work through everything, and just go. And I see a lot of people that do it until they can't do it no more. And sometimes life throws you, or throws some of us, some curveballs where, there are more people than not thinking about suicide and things of that nature that I've seen, and I'm like, damn.
You're surprised,
Especially,
and it's surprising, but I don't know if we really should be surprised.
No, right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that we've, as a community, as people, have done a really good job of smiling when it wasn't easy
That's
to
right.
smile,
Yeah.
working through things when it wasn't that easy, because that's how we've been conditioned. You know what I'm saying, through these experiences. I mean, when you think about it, and I always go back to historical references because I think the historical references help put things in perspective. But think about it. I mean, people used to hang people and gather to watch that.
Yeah.
Black people,
Yeah.
let's be clear.
Yes.
Black people.
Yeah.
We used to burn black men and women at the stake.
At the state.
And so sometimes what that says to me is we're not as civilized as we like to
Believe.
project or
Exactly.
believe that we are. And this is maybe a generation ago, right? And so we can't forget that we really, as black people, are very strong people.
We are.
But you know what? We have been beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, that the only people that are going to lift us up is one another. And so we have to encourage all of us, because, my thing is, the bigger that person is, the bigger we all are.
Yeah.
The bigger I am, the bigger we all are. And you have to really think like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also big on stating that we're not immune from any of the things that any other group. The Jewish community has people that were aligned with the Nazis as well. Native Americans had
Exactly.
people who were aligned with the colonizers as well, whether they knew it or not.
Exactly.
Because of what they thought they were getting in the exchange.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's not
It's
just
not
us.
exclusive
It's not
to us.
exclusive.
Yeah.
That's a human condition in terms of the betrayal. Judas can always be in the entourage,
Right.
whether you know it or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He
Yeah.
rolling with you.
That's
He
right.
there with you
That's
until
right. Till he's not.
until he's not. Right. And and it's important that I think we know these things, acknowledge these things, because that type of self-awareness can change who we are, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not telling you, listen, there's a number of routes that we can take to get there. This is just one of the things that I may suggest. And it's just a level of self-awareness. And I think as brothers, we should be building each other up. I mean, we're taught, rap music, for instance, which I'm a product of. I was, born in it, grew up on it. But I mean, we're told things like the game is to be sold, not to be told.
Right.
I got your chick, and all these other things. And it's like, bro, okay.
Right.
I got you, but there's the richness of life is not those things.
Exactly.
And some of us never get to that place of awareness.
Awareness.
And sometimes we might get there in a way in which, damn, like, man, I done did this. Well, it can certainly be too late if you are unwilling to change.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But I just think it's about having a healthy respect for our friends and family.
And I think it's almost, the phrase "be kind" is almost it's simple, but
Yeah.
I think
Simple but
I
difficult.
think many people just to be need to be kind and courteous and understand
Cost you nothing.
and
Cost you nothing.
just give people grace. I mean, this has become the cancel culture. You mess up one time,
Right.
and it's like, oh, we're done with you. And
Yep.
it's
Right.
like,
Right.
okay, I'm human. I made a mistake, and I think people need to be more graceful and allow people, that understanding that hey, I may mess up.
The benefit
You
of the
know,
doubt.
there you go. My brother Neil, he says that a lot, you know, to extend grace, right? And it's always funny when I hear that because one, that was my grandmother who passed, that was her name. And then
Wow.
my niece, I have twin nieces and, it's Emery and Grace, right? So when my sister named them, I was just like, just in my mind, like, wow, okay. And so I think, those are constant reminders that we
Right.
don't know
Sure.
about, you know what I mean? Or we're not as aware of sometimes because of how we live our lives, you know what I
Sure.
mean? And I think that grace is one of the things that is always there for you. And if you can extend it, you will receive it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Most importantly,
Yeah.
because you never know when you'll need it.
Yeah. I think
Credit you don't know you need.
yeah, and I think we've been more cognizant of that because life. I mean, as you get older, you realize that certain things is not that important, and you realize what truly is, and relationships are extremely
Oh
important.
yeah.
That's why we're having this relationships matter event coming up because we want to talk about just the importance of relationships and not
Nurturing.
nurturing relationships and not being so quick to cancel those relationships because someone made a mistake or they might have been acting out of character and it's saying, hey, allow me a little grace to apologize.
Yeah.
And because I think you're stronger with friends and family than without.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I wanted to talk about is because you're a public figure and your social media, I'm sure you have so many followers and people see you as wow, it's Osei and think that everything is perfect in your life and your path and your journey has been
Rosie.
flawless and easy. But I think, I would love to talk a little bit about how what people perceive and see on social media, unfortunately, is, well, not even unfortunately. I just wish that people understood that what you see on social media is but a fraction of
Yeah.
that person's journey, that person's life, that person's experiences. And that we struggle. Even I don't know very many people who are going to post the bad things on social media.
And what I do want to say before Jose answers is because you touched on something, because comparison is almost a
It's the devil.
it
It's the
it can
devil.
really bring you down.
It can,
Because all of us, you
Sure.
log on to social media and everybody's having a good time and
Yes.
everybody's popping bottles and all that stuff, and you're comparing yourself, or this person just got a promotion, or this person just closed on a
Yeah. Yeah.
$1 trillion house, or whatever your business is. And when you start comparing yourself, I think that's where you can lose yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this, and I'll speak to myself personally, is I know I would get on and just post and get off, right? But I'm a person that celebrates other people's wins.
Sure. Yes.
So I'll live vicariously. When I see y'all having a good time on your social media, I'm like, man, look at Q and Will. I love it,
Yeah.
right? It's inspiring to me, and it lets me know where we can all go, right? And I'm not saying it like there aren't. I've talked to you all. I know, like we all go through challenges,
Absolutely.
but it's still inspirational because it's
Sure.
not about the challenges; those are inevitable.
Yeah.
It's about how you resolve them, right?
Gotcha.
And most people aren't necessarily aware of how you resolve them. They just see
Right.
everybody to me
Right.
is not goals. Let's just be clear
Right,
on
right,
Sure.
that.
right.
I mean, people. I'm just saying what I see people posting. I'm like,
I'm
I'll
okay.
withhold my comment
I'm okay.
on that, but I'm not. It's not a judgment. It's just me
Sure.
saying I
Sure.
get it, right?
Yeah.
But I've gone through my challenges. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when you all were getting married, I was going through a really tough transition in my professional career. I was, on the cusp of losing everything. You know, real challenges with
Right.
people I thought who had my back in my business and all of that.
Sure.
And I had to just come to a new enlightenment on what the world was. And sometimes, the way you might choose to see the world isn't the world in which you're actually living in.
Wow.
And you can,
Say that one more time. I love that. I
yeah,
love that.
the way you might choose to see the world is not actually the world you're living in.
Right.
Wow.
And I had to, really come to another place. And I've been depressed.
Sure.
I've been
Yeah.
like down. I had grown in my career to a place that I thought I was like, okay, we're going here. Lost it all. Thought I was gonna marry this woman. Lost that. You know what I mean? You're never really as clear until you can really manage the losses that you've had.
Okay.
Right.
I think especially, for everybody, but especially as a man, because it's easier to evaluate other men, like, who's your friend as a man through women and money.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
and I'm saying that meaning having a healthy respect, like, hey, you know what? Hey, sis, when I come to the house, it's my brother here. So you're his wife, like, it's love.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
welcome me,
absolutely.
welcome me in. But, we do have a lot of men who only evaluate themselves based on the stereotypical
Right.
male
Right.
measurement, right?
Okay.
Of,
Yeah.
and so you
Yeah.
can forever be immature as a man,
Of course.
and never really grow up because you're looking at it like, bro, these dudes ain't happy. They're just, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
I
If
see
you
what you
listen,
mean.
so you
Yeah,
got to be
yeah.
able to understand when you get a good, and your woman should be, your best friend or one of
Absolutely.
them. She should be up there.
course,
If not,
yes.
like, but I say it to be balanced in
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Of
Because
course.
there's
Of
going to be
course.
different things. Like some people want to monopolize who's someone's friend and who isn't, and that's not realistic.
Right.
But it's
Right,
just about
right.
understanding how you communicate. And so
Right.
when you begin to get past that hurdle, I think there's a level of understanding. And so me speaking about my own struggle is saying that I've been in a place where, um, you know, losing it, wondering like, damn, how did I get there?
Sure.
And the thing about it is, you have to understand is, I think, faith, belief. You know what I mean? Because to me, belief is the highest currency you can gain from
Absolutely.
anybody. Because if someone believes in you, if they have it, they'll give it to you.
Yeah.
You gonna have it because they believe in you.
Yeah.
They're like, look, bro, I got you.
Right.
I've had people like Todd that
Yep.
believed in
Yes.
me.
Yeah,
And I'm just saying
absolutely.
in the spirit of the brotherhood, the friendship,
Yeah.
belief, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, which I could never repay. And no one, you know what I'm saying, your parents, you can't ever repay that. They
Absolutely.
believed in you.
Yeah.
So they're like, whatever needs to happen,
Yes,
we'll get
yes.
to that other side when we need to get there. But I think that it's important that everybody understand that, hey, it's not always rosy. Not for me. I don't care. Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Right.
I didn't, you know what I'm
So-
saying, had my challenges too, right?
Yeah.
And how do you pull yourself out of it?
I was gonna ask the
because
same
all of
thing.
us
Yeah.
have, again, the whole
We've
social
all
media.
been
They
depressed.
see this
Yeah.
this glorious side of things, but we've all have gone through things.
Sure.
So you referenced sort of the time years ago when you were going through it. How did you turn that around?
Man, initially it was hot yoga.
Wow.
Well, can we even go back a little bit further than that? How did you even know you were depressed? To even pull yourself out of it.
Man, one of my frat brothers, when I was going through it, he came down and he was like, bruh.
This isn't
Like
you.
you good?
Yeah.
He didn't even say that. He's like, nah.
Yeah, this isn't
So
you.
you're not, yes. And I'm like, okay. And he pushed me. Like I was heading into a vegetative state.
Wow.
And he was like, come, bro, we need to go work out. Things that I was accustomed to doing, but because of where I was at mentally, I wasn't doing.
Well, stop doing
and
it,
you
yeah.
don't realize that you're
in that
headed in that
space.
direction.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And something that Les Brown, when I met him, said to me is like, he was like, Osei, you can't see yourself when you're in the frame.
Wow.
So when you're doing what you do, you're not really as self-aware that this is how you translate to everybody
that.
else.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So a lot of us don't realize we're depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in that space.
You don't see yourself while you're in the frame.
And you might think you're doing
think
a
you're
job.
I'm doing it.
I'm pushing
But
through.
but when you're outside looking in
Yeah,
at that frame, it's like no,
Yeah.
something's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's deep.
I guess, and I think everyone deals with depression or their, sad moments very differently.
Sure.
For me, I'm an only child, and I think I've just had a lot of sad moments. But I think that being by myself, I've learned to pull myself and not just stay in that space very long, even if it means pressing it down and not talking about it, and it may manifest itself in a different way later, which is not good. But I just don't want to be sad. Like I'll come to Will and he'll be playing like slow music and just kind of melancholy, and I'm like,
just because you don't like my slow
oh
music,
my God.
because to me, I
Just
love.
pull out the knife and
I'ma
slit
slit my
wrist.
If I'm in there listening to
can't
some
do
Teddy
it.
P or some Jeffrey Osborne or whatever it is, that's my vibe. I'm in it. But to her, when she hears it, it's like, geez,
like,
are you all right?
Sad today.
But,
I don't want to be sad today.
But that says that everything impacts people differently.
It does.
Like for me, music pulls me out of it. Even though it may be slow, and I may want to listen to some Maverick City or some Kurt Franklin or some whatever, and that makes me feel good. But Key comes in there like, oh man, you okay?
He'll be no. Kurt Franklin, I can do. It's Marvin Sapp.
Come on. We're not gonna
Never
get on
would've
Marvin.
made it.
Anyway, I love Marvin Sapp. Let's be clear.
It's just the slow music gets to her.
But again, I think that. So my question for you is, out of all of that, is how can we be more self-aware to say, you know what, let me take care of me. We're wives, we're mothers, we're teachers. We're running and we're doing so many things for everybody else. And I'm not trying to be sexist and just talk about the women, men as well. But how do we all take a moment to step back and say, I've got to take care of me? Because if I am depleted, I cannot feed into anyone else. How do we get to that point? More so, and because I'm more concerned about us as a people. I feel like, us as a people, we feel like we try to be too strong because that's how we've been conditioned. Push through, work hard, go to work every day, even when you're sick. Do the most. And here we are, and it's done us a disservice.
Yeah, I think you have to be reminded. You have to have people that love you to tell you, like, hey, you know what, you need to go recharge or
Yes.
replenish.
Yeah.
And I know it's not an easy place to get to, but you need wise counsel.
Yeah, 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 and that's huge. I think
It is.
thankful. I think for Key and I, we have a close knit of friends that we call family. That that we yeah, I'll say, and we can lean on each other, and it's authentic. We're not
Yeah.
trying to get something out of you, and you're not trying to get something out of
Right,
me. It's
right.
just, hey, I'm feeling bad,
Yeah.
or what happened. So I think we need to do more of that.
Yeah.
Be open enough and transparent enough to rely on others.
Yeah. Because
for that.
that's the thing. If I don't, and maybe it's that I don't have to know that you're going through something. I think maybe we just need to be more aware. Hey, how about you check on
Yeah.
your friends, check on your family, and just, hey, how are you doing today? You
Yeah.
know, just a quick text or a quick phone call.
I think, one of the things I've observed in you all is you are very self-aware and intentional about creating space, right?
Yeah, yeah,
For everyone to, man, if it's, it doesn't always have to be all good.
right.
It's not always all
Right.
good,
Yeah.
you know what I
It's
mean?
not.
Because of one thing or the next. And life is going to hand you some things that, based on the day, you may not necessarily be able to handle.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
okay.
Right.
And I think that's the part about it is it's okay to not be okay.
Right. Absolutely.
You need to say that again
Yeah.
because
It's
it's
okay to not
okay.
be okay.
It's
It
okay.
is.
Like today might just be
Yeah.
one of those days, but you have to, and I think it's about cultivating the things that get you out of a funk. It might be cooking. It might be running. It might be jogging or whatever you do. It might be going to
absolutely.
work out. That's why when you kind of get into a rut of not doing something because you're like, I don't, and I was there.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said.
I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just leave me alone, dog. I
Right,
just
right,
want to.
right, right.
And they're like,
Yeah.
nah, bro.
That's not you.
No. So,
And I think it's okay to be in that space for a moment,
oh yeah.
as long as you're not in it too long.
Too long.
Because then that could be very dangerous.
And you have to
Yeah.
be willing, like, you can't drive a stick shift in second gear
Right.
the whole way.
Right.
You're gonna have to change gears.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
You're gonna
to
tear up the
adjust.
transmission.
You're gonna, and that's it.
Yeah.
So if you stay
Yeah.
there, you're gonna
Yeah.
tear up your own internal
That's right.
transmission.
That's
and
right.
that's what I came out of. When I really went through it, and I mean going through my toughest professional moment, because a lot of times when you poured yourself into something, like I bypassed, I feel like I missed a lot of moments, and so when you're like, damn, like wow, I missed all of this, and I can't even reset it,
Right.
Right.
and then you start to ask yourself, well, what do I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one.
I know,
Now, why
man.
is that your favorite?
Because I just think that. Well, I love Morgan Freeman
Well,
in
yeah.
the movie.
Yes.
Because Morgan was like doing life or something, and he seemed to always find a way to keep it positive.
Right.
But then when I looked at some of the different people, like the guy that was institutionalized and he came out and he killed himself.
he couldn't.
And then the main character who went through everything he went through, and he talks about, excuse my language, going through shit
Yeah,
and coming out on the
And
other side.
literally.
Literally.
But he made it.
He made
And
it.
that's
Yeah.
to me what life is, right?
yeah.
It's going through what you go through, but those are the defining moments that you're made through fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think this has been an amazing discussion. I think, I think having those relationships is key. I know we talked about that. I think having therapy, when we were talking earlier about your circle,
Yeah.
and I know when I lost my mom, my friends, what we call family, they came over,
yeah.
and Key told them, because I told him, I said, hey, Key, I don't want people asking how you doing, and I was like, I said, but she was like, you know what? And she told him, say, hey, Will doesn't want to really talk about it, but he just wants you guys here. And they came through, and that meant so much.
Yeah, man.
So I think we need to definitely work on those types of relationships where you feel comfortable and can trust them.
Yeah.
Because we need each other. We can't do this by
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Nah, man, we ain't islands.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Osei, how do you maintain that positive mental space? Every time I see you, you're always, and I'm not saying that you're always happy, but when I see you, I feel like you project a very positive energy. You're loving, you're kind. And again, that doesn't mean that we're not going through something, but I love how you present
Yeah.
a positive. And I'm not saying present a front. What I'm
No.
saying is present positivity. I love that.
I
I'm
appreciate
like,
that.
oh, say, can he come? I'm
Yeah.
cooking. Tell him to
Oh,
come
yeah.
by.
No.
So I appreciate you, and I feel like you're an inspiration to us from just being so educated, so well versed, so articulate, and so positive, and just a kind, genuine person.
I appreciate the words, sis. I think that one, you all being who you are helps to lift me up, right? And you all, there's energy in spaces you go into. So you want to go into spaces that lift your energy and not pull you down. 'Cause I can tell you some places I ain't going.
Right.
We ain't gonna talk about that. I ain't going over there.
That's another
Right.
It's another
Yeah.
different, another
doing
story.
that. We're not doing that.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But also finding things like I love to get outside, go for a hike.
Yeah.
When I get into nature, it helps me tremendously. When I work out, it helps to reset, recharge me.
Release.
You're right, release. And
as
I get,
well.
and people don't understand the endorphins. And I think
That's
that
true.
we spend so much time wanting to look good, but
Yeah.
we're not necessarily feeling good.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's so much, there's so much that we could talk about when it comes to what we haven't had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? As people,
Yeah.
we haven't been poured into. So we starting, they done lapped us about 4 times
Right.
before we even got a chance to get out the gates and be happy and understand what real love is and understand, because you can feel those things when you go into spaces, right?
You can.
You can
Yeah,
feel
you
the
absolutely can.
positivity, the love, the energy, and you can also tell where
You can
that
see when
doesn't
things
exist
are off. Yeah.
in this space. So
Yeah.
I try to, one, do those things, read something. I listen to, and I used to have The Secret on constant rotation.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
People be like, well,
Universe.
so why the hell you got this
That's
thing
right.
going all the time? I'm like, I'm trying to really get this for me.
Oh, that,
And I can't
that's
like
awesome.
during that time frame when I first got into yoga and everything else, that was all a part of my constant was, okay, I'm like listening to this. And sometimes I just am a firm believer that God will send you some things and it may not be everything. It may, he may not have sent you a life jacket, but he sent you that wood you could hold on to long enough to get
To
rescued.
the next spot. Yeah.
You right? And everything is a series of bridges to me in life that, it may not be, now this wasn't a pretty bridge. This thing might have looked a little shaky going across, right?
It got to the other
but
side.
it got you to the other side.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can continue to do that and pray for grace to find you.
Yes.
Prayer is a powerful thing. I'm
It
a
is.
believer
It
in that too. Meditation is as well. And I think that all of these things, I'm agnostic, I like to say. And, a close friend of mine shared, when it comes to the things that work. I just believe whatever works. You don't have to be Christian, Buddhist,
Sure.
Muslim to be a good person.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
it resonates and your spirit precedes you
Yeah.
when you enter
Absolutely.
into spaces as well.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's a good note to end on.
Okay.
Yeah.
My man.
I think
Osei.
you're teary, babe.
Hey
You make me
man,
a little
it's
teary.
because it's serious,
Yeah,
man. You know,
yeah.
people really need to be open and acknowledge the things that they go through, because a lot of us go through things in silence.
Oh yeah.
And that
Man,
leads to
so many of
depression.
us. Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's why we wanted to talk about this, to really talk
Absolutely.
about the importance of mental health.
Sure.
And making sure that you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, you know, one last note for me, I feel like sometimes you just let stuff go.
Yeah.
I feel like so many times and so often people just hold stuff, they don't forgive, they don't forget, and you're just holding on to stuff that most of the people you're holding that stuff against, they don't even remember what it was. Yeah, well, you're like,
That you gonna drop that mic, Will, or what you want to do? She said, forgive, forgive.
Yes.
That doesn't mean. Listen, you don't have to forget, but don't let that short term turn into a long term where the forgiving part of it. And I've had to forgive a lot of people.
of course.
In my
And
own
forgiveness
life.
is for you, not for the other person.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, it could be something that's very serious that you can't forget. Nobody, you know, we have to determine what those things are for ourselves. But again,
That's
forgive
it.
and move on.
That's it.
Forgive and
Yeah,
move on.
life is too short.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be,
Yeah.
you know, up in age and realize, like, man, I wasted
All that
the
time
last
being-
20 years
Yeah, I'm so
worrying,
mad and pissed off.
worrying
Yeah.
about this person. They've lived a beautiful life.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, life is not perfect. And we just got to accept that and just, you know, make those adjustments, pivot, and move on.
You pivot and move on. We appreciate you.
Man, I
My God.
appreciate y'all, man. It's
We love you
anytime.
truly.
Love y'all
And-
as well. I appreciate y'all tremendously.
Yeah.
Y'all keep being a great example. Y'all doing a wonderful job.
Thank you for supporting
sharing
us.
the energy, and you know I had to come through. It's
Yay.
mandatory.
My man, Osei, the dark secret in the building.
We love you so much.
Thank y'all.
Listen,
Appreciate you.
Key and Will, thank y'all for joining. Mental health is serious, y'all.
It's so serious, you guys.
We appreciate you guys tuning in.
We forgot to say like, subscribe, and comment.
They gonna do that anyways.
Please.
They gonna do that anyways.
Please, please, please.
All right, love y'all.